We're going to dive into a pretty radical new theory of the brain, one that basically throws out the old computer metaphors and asks us to reimagine our minds and our memories as this dynamic field of pure energy.
So let's just start with a wild idea. We all kind of think our memories are filed away somewhere, right? Like little video clips waiting to be played back. But what if that's a total illusion? What if remembering is actually an act of creation, something that happens from scratch in real time every single time you do it?
All right, let's get into it. And to really build this new picture of memory, we first have to tear down the old one.
You know, for decades, the go-to analogy has been the computer. The brain's the hardware, memories are the software, all saved neatly into folders. It's a handy metaphor, but there's a huge problem. Scientists have searched, and they have never actually found the files. So a new theory called the Brain Kinematics Model, or BKM for short, says maybe we've been looking for the wrong thing all along.
So, let's try on a new metaphor. Forget the computer. Instead, I want you to picture a pond. Your mind is the water, this continuous field of energy. And every thought, every sensation, every memory, it isn't a thing floating in the water. It's a pattern of the water. A ripple, a wave that forms for just a moment before it dissolves right back into the whole thing.
So, how does this energy field in our brain actually work? I mean, what is it made of? Let's get into the mechanics of the BKM.
Well, the BKM says our entire mental world emerges from three interconnected layers of energy. First, you've got the electrochemical layer. That's the classic stuff, the neurons firing that we all learned about in school. Second, there's the electromagnetic layer. Those firings create energy fields that actually synchronize huge parts of the brain. And third, and this is where it gets really wild, is the stress-straining layer. This is the actual physical push and pull on the brain tissue itself. These three layers are all tangled up together, constantly interacting to create one unified field.
And here is the absolute game changer. In this model, a memory isn't data, it's geometry. It's a specific kind of stable pattern. Think of it like a standing wave on a guitar string that forms when those three energy layers lock into a temporary coherent shape. A memory is just a unique energetic signature, a specific geometric form inside that field.
What's really cool is this model gives us an elegant new way to think about different types of memory. Long-term memories? Those are like deep, powerful, low-frequency tides in this energy field. They're super stable and resilient. Short-term memories, on the other hand, are like quick, high-frequency ripples right on the surface, full of energy, but really fragile and easy to disrupt.
So, if memories are just these temporary patterns, it leads to a completely new way of looking at what it means to remember and what it means to forget.
It's really like a dance. Remembering is what the theory calls re-coherence. A new thought comes in, it resonates with an old dormant pattern, and boom, it brings it back to life. It's reconstruction, not playback. Forgetting, then, is decoherence. The pattern's energy just fades, its shape dissolves back into the background noise. But, and this is the key part, the memory isn't destroyed, it's just inaccessible, lying dormant, ready to be reactivated if the right trigger comes along.
This table here really brings it all together as one big, continuous cycle. Just follow the rows. When you're encoding a memory, the energy amplitude is rising as a new pattern forms. When you're forgetting, the amplitude drops and the pattern disperses. And when you're remembering, the amplitude rises again as the whole system resynchronizes with that old pattern, rebuilding it from scratch. It's this constant flow of forming, dissolving, and reforming.
Now for a really fantastic application of this whole model. Let's see how it gives us a physical explanation for the bizarre logic of our dreams.
You've had those dreams, right? Where 1 second you're in your childhood home, and the next you're on the moon? Psychologists call that displacement, while BKM calls it a phase transition. The underlying wave pattern that's holding the scene together just becomes unstable, and the entire energy field snaps into a brand new geometric shape. The story isn't broken. The wave pattern just reformed itself into something else.
And what about the fact that it's so hard to remember dreams? Well, this theory has a clear explanation for that too. When you wake up, your brain's operating frequency just shifts like dramatically. The high-frequency, high-energy patterns of being awake basically steamroll the slower, lower-energy dream patterns. It's like a powerful radio signal just completely drowning out a weaker one. The dream pattern just decoheres, it falls apart.
And what's great is this model can explain so many of our everyday memory experiences. That tip-of-the-tongue feeling, that's your brain getting a near resonance, a partial match, but not quite enough to fully reconstruct the pattern. A memory that suddenly pops into your head out of nowhere, that's a rapid, perfect resonance match. Even things like emotional suppression can be seen as your brain actively preventing a pattern from forming because of a strong emotional charge.
So all of this activity, all these patterns forming and dissolving, what's driving it all? This brings us to the final, unifying idea of the entire theory. Now, I know what you're thinking, an equation, but don't let it scare you. What it means is actually really simple and kind of profound. This is the engine of the mind. All it says is that the brain is always, automatically, moving in a direction that minimizes energy imbalances or strain. Every single mental process is just the system trying to find a more stable, balanced state.
So what that really means is that nothing is random. Remembering, forgetting, dreaming, it's all part of this grand, dynamic balancing act. The brain is constantly trying to find the sweet spot between homeostasis, keeping things stable on the inside, and allostasis, adapting to whatever the outside world throws at it. It's this beautiful dance between holding on to patterns and letting them go to make way for new ones.
And that leaves us with one last, truly mind-bending thought to chew on. If everything in our mind is driven by this universal tendency toward balance, then maybe what we call consciousness, what you feel as you, is nothing more than the subjective experience of that process. It's just the feeling of the universe finding its equilibrium, moment by moment, right inside your own head.